Good afternoon, everyone. Kalla here. Welcome to my live stream. Glad you could make it today, and sorry for the slight delay at the beginning there. I was having some technical difficulties, but those are solved now. I hope they're solved now. So, today, more Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, as we hopefully finish the third episode of Great Ace Attorney 2. Hopefully. I feel like we're getting to the end of it. Because after all, we've technically solved the case that we were involved with. And we're now solving a past case? Or finding out the truth? Or, you know, the things we were kind of warned against doing. So, let's get into it. What was my voice for? Anyway. Very well. The waxwork plot. It all began at the scene when I saw the waxwork and the note tucked inside its jacket. The actual body of the victim, as indicated in the note's instructions, was beneath the experimentation stage. The body had to be arranged in certain ways to implicate the defendant, which was my job. I enlisted the help of the entire forensic investigation team to dress the scene appropriately. The whole forensic investigation team was in on this? I guess they had to be. I guess it makes sense that they would have to all be in on it, right? The truth about the execution 10 years ago is a state secret of the highest level. I had to protect it. Wait, that's all you're gonna say? Scythe? So I was right. The stage and the machine were all specially designed for the deception. So it seems, and all meticulously prepared. You did well to see through it. You're a very shrewd boy. So kind of you to say. And what about this autopsy report then? All I did was record the location of the body as being in the Crystal Tower instead of under the stage. That's all? That's a terrible corruption! Also, I just realised I haven't actually said it, so hello Nick! There we go. Gotta make sure to say hi to people. Even when I immediately forget. Only my team were aware of the deceit, and then only under my explicit instructions. Nobody else at Scotland Yard knew anything about it, I assure you. We must be thankful for small mercies, I suppose. Well, I believe that testimony has clarified everything. No, it hasn't! Excuse me, I want to know about the professor! There's no particular need for a cross-examination, I would say. No, there's a need. There's always a need for cross-examination. No, I disagree. I can't shake the feeling that something's wrong. Just look at that expression on Dr. Scythe's face. Yeah, she looks too confident for someone who's just admitted to corruption. It's the defense's right to cross-examine any witness following testimony. What is it about you Japanese that makes you all so doggedly persistent? Very well, if you so desire, counsel, proceed with the cross-examination. Yes, my lord. Alright, time to press all the things. From what you described before, it sounds like the note was anonymous. Did you have any idea of who was behind it? There are very few people in the know about what really happened 10 years ago to start with. But anyway, I'd never heard of this engineer, so no, I had no idea. Yet despite not knowing who was behind the plan, you went along with it? I had no choice. Protecting the professor's secret was my only concern. But the horse is bolted now, and the stable door will never shut again. Scotland Yard's reputation will be immeasurably damaged as a result of this. Yes, thank you, Lord Van Zieks. I'm well aware of that. So, as I understand it, what you found in the birdcage was the waxwork model. Where, then, was the victim's body? So you knew about the special construction of the stage used to carry out the trick, then? It was quite obvious what had happened with the victim and the waxwork. And you switched the two over, didn't you? In other words, you recorded the victim's body as having been discovered in the Crystal Tower, and the waxwork? I wrapped it and sent it by carriage to the specified address at the specified time. And why were you given such directions? Presumably so it could be recovered by Drebber and returned to Madame Two-Spells. I see. And then you put the birdcage back on the experimentation stage? Yes. Although someone obviously made a mistake about which cage should go where. I thought I'd made it perfectly clear to the team, but still. I suppose you were focused on the victim's body, that being a more important detail. Also, it was probably easier to put the birdcages in the position that they put them in, just because then you didn't have to take a guy out of one birdcage and stick it in another, right?
Hold it!
When you say arranged, I presume you mean with this? Yes, the instructions in the engineer's notes had something along the lines of fabricate some evidence to make it clear that Harebrain alone could have killed Asman. So, you mean that was your doing? I fetched Harebrain's ridiculous screwdriver from the stage and took it with me, alone, to the abyss under the stage where the birdcage had fallen. Alone, Doctor? I didn't feel it would be appropriate to involve anybody else in that particular part of the deception. Okay. There was a void under the stage where I found the birdcage lying in the dirt. I approached it, leaned down, and slowly opened it up. Then I took the screwdriver in both hands and plunged it into the man's chest. And then you noted that in your fake autopsy report? As a fictitious cause of death. And then also returned the screwdriver to the top of the stage, right? Exactly. So, the actual cause of death was the dropping, I assume. The trauma resulting from the 30-foot drop. My word. What is it, Miss Susato? Something about Dr. Scythe's last statement. It's playing on my mind, that's all. Yes, mine too. Dr. Scythe. There's really no need to shout. I can hear you perfectly well. The defense calls for you to add what you just said to your formal testimony. Oh, which part? All of it? What I wanted to supplement her testimony with is the real cause of death or what she did to the victim. Huh. What do I have in the core record again? Which of those do I want? I feel like the real cause of death is probably the more important part, right? Because, that's the part that implicates that's the part that implicates Drebber as the murderer, right? I'm guessing I'll be able to change this later. Wait, actually, let's get back to the history. So yeah, I think I want the real cause of death. I think you're right. The real cause of death being the fall of 30 feet. That part. Fine, if that's what you want. Just stop yelling, please. The prosecution concurs. Okay. Very well. You will supplement your testimony now, witness. If you wish, my lord. Let's press that one. You're quite sure of that? It was as a result of a broken neck? Yes, as a professional, that was more than apparent. You'd never know just by looking at the photograph of the victim, though, would you? No, that's very true. Obviously not. Which is precisely why coroners are needed to determine the actual facts. Yes, assuming they can be trusted. Yeah, right? This is Ace Attorney. We will yell. I mean, I won't yell too much because that might be a mic issue. But there's no point calling her assessment into question without evidence. Let's get back to the testimony. Very well. Hold it! The entire team In perverting the course of justice? My team consists of the very best investigators there are. I demand loyalty from all members. We operate on a code of chivalry of sorts. I didn't know about a forensic investigation team that's 100% loyal to the coroner. That feels iffy. I mean, she's used it for bad purposes this time. So... You aid and abet a murderer, commit perjury, and dare to talk of chivalry? It was a matter of priorities. What? Nothing was more important than protecting the secret of the Professor. My team did what was necessary without losing sight of the primary goal. I consider their conduct exemplary. Don't concede the point, Mr. Naruhodo. You mustn't let her win. I need a lawyer. You are a lawyer. I'll take that silence as tacit acceptance. Now can we move on?
Hold it!
But at what cost? Faith in Scotland Yard is going to suffer a terrible blow as a result of this. And your precious secret is out now anyway. Yes, as you say. And I take full responsibility. Blow me down, Dr. Scythe! That's not my voice for him. I need to... I needed to be older. Oh well. Surely there was some other way you could have protected the secret. Like, by taking out Drebber. No, there really wasn't. I've done my utmost, believe me. In many ways, I respect your determination. Phew, I nearly froze under that cold stare as she said that. I do believe she was being genuine, though, Mr. Naruhodo. So that's her story. She's admitted everything and revealed her full involvement in the crime. I do wonder if there could really be much more to it. Well, I don't know, but I just have a feeling. Do you, Mr. Naruhodo? The truth is, I find it strange too. How those two are reacting to this in completely opposite ways, I mean. Yes, exactly. For some reason, I feel they're still trying to hide something. So I think we need to present something against this, assuming that this is the correct addition. But I don't know. Alright. A broken vertebra, most likely resulting from impact after a sudden fall from considerable height. Wait. So, she said his neck was broken, right? I don't really know enough about this sort of thing, but he fell feet first. Would you break your neck doing that? Would you actually suffer neck trauma if you're falling feet first? Because it seems like all the shock was down. The shock was mainly down here. Yeah, I don't really know enough about this sort of thing to know. But shouldn't he have some damage at the foot end? Excuse me. I don't know. I don't know whether this is the one we actually want. I want to swap it to our other statement and then press that. It's like I don't know if I picked the right one. You know, if you think it would be appropriate, I'm sure you could ask Dr. Sides to change the supplementary testimony she gave before. Yeah, it seems like one you can just change. Dr. Scythe, what you said before about what you did to the victim's body, I believe that may be significant, so could you change your supplementary statement to explain that instead? Very well. I stood over the victim's corpse where it lay in the toppled cage and plunged the screwdriver into the chest.
Hold it!
So it was you who stabbed Asman with this? Yes, far easier than dissection, I assure you. No precision required. I mean, you had to be precise enough to get it in his heart, right? What a welcome change. The victim died instantly from a snapped neck. All I did was carry out the instructions I'd been given. As unflinchingly as ever, no doubt. I imagine you didn't bat an eyelid when you drove the weapon into his body. There was no need to bat my eyelids. And what else did you do to twist the facts? Remind the court, why don't you? If you wish. Okay, that's... I stood over the victim's corpse where it lay in the toppled cage and plunged the screwdriver into the chest. I don't think that's anything we've got anything good for either. Now there's a bit of blood splatter on that harness, right? So... But I mean, we already established that they forgot to swap over which birdcage was which anyway. But you can see that they didn't with that. I'm kind of a little bit lost at this point. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be going with this. You're stumped as well. I think I'm gonna go look at a guide. Oh. Yeah, okay, I was close. But, I hadn't thought about this. Apparently, we do now have the right statement, but, does this blood splatter look like he was stabbed while he was laying down? It doesn't, does it? I didn't even think about that. The blood has clearly flowed downwards.
Objection.
So it's this. I've got a nasty feeling that this inconsistency points to an extremely uncomfortable truth. What on earth is the matter, Council? Have you lost your tongue? I apologize, my lord. Dr. Scythe, in that last statement of yours, there's just one point that seems to defy explanation. Out with it, my learned friend. There's an obvious inconsistency between your description and this photograph, which shows the victim in the birdcage following the events that led to his death.
Objection!
The court has already examined that photograph in depth. There's nothing new we can learn from it.
Objection!
Yes, we have already considered it, that's true. But we now know the facts to be different. What do you mean? I believe we should let the defense explain. Where in this photograph would we see the alleged inconsistency with the witness's statement? Down here.
Take that!
Look closely at the bloodstain on the victim's chest. It clearly extends in a downward direction towards the man's feet. And why is that significant, Council? If the victim was stabbed moments before the kinesis machine was set into motion, that's entirely expected. Ah! Of course! No, that's not what happened. Exactly, my lord. Dr. Scythe made it very clear in her testimony just now that the point at which she stole Professor Harebrain's screwdriver and stabbed the victim was after the grand deception was set into motion, when the birdcage had fallen below the stage out of sight. From the shape of it, it's clear the birdcage would have fallen on its side after the 30-foot drop. Unless it was, like, positioned in a chute or something. But that would have been over-engineering, wouldn't it? Way easier to make a trapdoor that just opens out into a pit. And if the victim had really been stabbed while inside the birdcage in that position, the blood from the wound would have spread out equally in all directions. For it to have formed the longitudinal appearance we see in the picture is inconceivable. Ha 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 ha, face. Ah! Given that the victim's blood seeped vertically downward from the wound, it must be the case that when you stabbed Mr. Asman, he was standing up. In short, Dr. Scythe, your latest testimony was a total fabrication. Yeah! I knew it. I was right. Now I've identified that contradiction, there's only one way to explain the facts. There was an apparatus designed to stab him in the kinesis machine, and then she stuck the screwdriver into the wound afterwards to get the right blood on it and things. I think I'm over guessing here. We've all been under a great misapprehension here. What? What sort of misapprehension? Dr. Scythe. You claim you were coerced into helping Mr. Drebber as a result of the notes he left in the waxwork. Oh, no, she was a willing participant from the beginning. You claim that you made changes to the scene of the crime to implicate the defendant. And you claim that you authored a fake autopsy report to cover your tracks. But one of those claims is an out-and-out lie. Because the question of what the bloodstain really tells us has only one possible answer. If that is the case, what is it, man? Counsel, you've clearly struck upon a revelation. Now tell the court what it is. Which part of Dr. Scythe's story is shown to be a lie by the contradiction in her testimony? How she was coerced? Because she's got to have been in on it from earlier. Right? I'm gonna save. I'm gonna save. I'm not confident. How she was coerced. Dr. Scythe, clearly you weren't really coerced by some letter at all. What? If you were, where is the note? It's nowhere to be seen. That says maybe. So why don't you present it to the court? If the assertion vexes you. Obviously, I've already disposed of it, and I'm not vexed in the slightest. Counsel, need I remind you it was you yourself who established the coercion? Ah! I'm afraid that little cry is insufficient recompense for such a blunder. I shall have to penalise you. Feeling vexed, my Nipponese friend? Very. But there's no question that the coroner's testimony was built on a tremendous lie. Okay. So it wasn't how she was coerced. Was it the stab? It must. Well, I guess it's the stabbing. It's the stabbing, isn't it? It should have been the stabbing in the first place. The answer is very simple if you consider the sequence of events. If, when the victim was stabbed, the blood from the wound seeped downwards, as it did, we can be sure that the victim must have been either sitting or standing upright at the time. But as you rightly pointed out, the birdcage would have fallen on its side when it fell beneath the stage. Yes, it would, which tells us that the victim must have been in that position of his own accord.
Objection!
That's impossible! The man was dead, remember? No, that is the misapprehension. Oh, the fall didn't kill him. He was stabbed after the fall. He got up and then he got stabbed because the fall didn't actually kill him, as planned. When the birdcage fell from the stage into the void below, it must have hit the ground with considerable force. But Mr. Asman didn't die in the fall. He probably lost consciousness for a while, but when he came round, he got to his feet to climb out of the cage. Just as Dr. Scythe appeared. She killed a man to protect her secret. If the victim was in fact alive at that point in time, it changes everything. Mr. Odi Asman's killer wasn't the defendant, Professor Albert Harebrain. Nor was it the mastermind behind the stage trickery, Mr. Enoch Drebber. It was you, Dr. Courtney Scythe. I'm not sure Drebber knew that. Order! 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 And can this possibly be true? Have you been taking me for a fool? It was you, wasn't it? You killed him. You hoped that by admitting to being an accomplice in Mr. Drebber's scheme, the trial would end. Before you were accused of a far worse crime. Cold-blooded murder. Oh, do shut up! You're so desperate now you're making all this up. As if I would do something like that.
Objection!
I assure you the defense is not desperate, Doctor. Mr. Naruhodo has established the facts using evidence and logic alone. Ha! Logic! Don't make me laugh. Sadly, your logic has a gaping hole in it. Well, so does the victim. What do you mean? I'd have thought it was obvious. A motive, boy. You're lacking a motive. No, I think we established your motive. Your motive was protecting the secret of the professor. Hey Hunter. How you doing? What possible reason would I have to kill Mr. Asman? I mean, he was one of the reporters reporting on the professor's so-called resurrection. So maybe that's your motive. Asman was involved in any number of criminal activities. From coercion to theft to murder. But there is no known connection to Dr. Scythe there. I'm rather relieved to say that it does seem somewhat far-fetched. True, there's no obvious motive, aside from the motive that she had in the first place for the coercion. But there's still something in the back of my mind. I feel sure I've seen something somewhere that hints at why the coroner might have done this. Wait, have I? Right, wait, let's go through what I've got. The Great Exhibition newspaper... I don't think is going to help us. Whereas, the autopsy report. No. Drebber's contract, no. 10-year-old article. Her name doesn't seem to be in there. I'm not sure. Yes, I might have tampered with the crime scene and concocted a fake report. But murdering someone for no reason is a very different story.
Objection!
No, when you questioned what possible reason you could have for wanting to kill Mr. Asman, something did come to mind. What? What was it, Counsel? Enlighten the court at once. Yes, we saw it yesterday, didn't we? Something that seemed strange, but we had no reason to suspect it at the time. There's a particular object that explains why Dr. Scythe would have wanted to kill Mr. Asman. Oh! The over-ordering of scalpels! The over-ordering of scalpels! Yeah, what did she need that many scalpels for? I forgot about that. Oh, or it could be about the Iron Mask. No, it's got to be the scalpels, because that was something weird we saw that we hadn't managed to connect to anything yet. Scalpels. It's a scalpel, or rather, scalpels. Did you say scalpels? Ah, we got it now! We got it now! Look at that face. It would appear the word has struck a chord, Doctor. You! Come on, out with it! It was yesterday when we visited your laboratory. Look at this big thick book here. Ah, it appears to be an accounting ledger. It's a record of the forensic investigation team's spending, I think. Oh. What is it? It's clear that the team purchases various equipment and supplies on a monthly basis, but... well, one entry seems rather strange. Really? In what way? They're buying 500 scalpels every month. $500 scalpels a month? first, I wondered what on earth you could be using that many scalpels for. I mean, it must be for the metal, right? But actually, I realise now it's not the scalpels themselves that are significant. It's the money for them, disappearing every month from the department's accounts. Oh, it's not actual scalpels, it's embezzling! Asman's criminal organisation relied heavily on extortion for its funding. Tracing the money from the forensic investigation team's account to find out where it was going would be extremely straightforward. Oh, Asman was extorting her for money that she was covering up by pretending to buy so many scalpels. 10 years ago, when Mr. Asman was still a journalist and wrote this article about Mr. Drebber, he may well have stumbled upon information as he was researching the story. Information relating to Dr. Syde's darkest secret that he would use to rack money from her for the next decade. Her darkest secret? Good lord, you mean... I don't know what happened on the night of that execution 10 years ago. But clearly the opportunity to rid yourself of that menace was too tempting to pass up. So in the end, you weren't coerced at all, were you? You did it entirely of your own free will. You stabbed Mr. Asman in the heart with all your might. To silence the blackmailer who knew your dark secret forever. You'll never understand! None of you! What we've had to keep covered up all these long years. We might if you tell us? As very little of the machine remains after it was ripped apart by the bomb, the truth of this case can never be properly established unless you speak out. And if you decide not to, it's very possible that Courtney Syde will escape punishment for her crimes. Please, sir, own up to what you've done and tell the court the truth about what happened. "10 years ago, you told the truth, and you were robbed of a bright and successful future as a result. I can certainly understand your bitterness and your consternation now. However, this is surely the chance you've been waiting for, to sever the hold that fate's had over you all these years. Super high voltage instantaneous kinesis? I mean, really. It's the addle-brained mock scientists that are the worst, you know. They don't recognize the fact that they don't have talent. They can't even get that right. And so they end up chasing impossible dreams, having unbridled faith in their abilities. They go on and on about their wonderful hypotheses, their stupid eyes shining like a little child's. They make me sick. I can't abide their foolishness. Careful, Mr. Drebber. I was particularly pleased with the kinesis machine. It made for quite a show, didn't it? So you admit it? You admit that it was nothing more than a sham made for the purpose of killing the victim? Yes, I admit it. I did it all in the name of revenge. Revenge for the future that Mr. Asman's article had deprived you of 10 years earlier. But the revenge you sought didn't stop at Asman, did it? Which is where that very particular waxwork comes in. Yes, I see. The condemned convict that you saw rising from the grave in Lowgate Cemetery 10 years ago. If your account of those events was all true, then obviously Scotland Yard couldn't afford to acknowledge what had happened. Even if it meant discrediting a bright young man and crushing any future career he might have had. So your plan required that you abduct that particular waxwork model in order to exact your revenge on Scotland Yard as well. Or on Dr. Sires, to be precise. Very clever. It was a year ago. By some extraordinary twist of fate, Asman turned up at my workshop. He didn't remember who I was, of course. He just wanted to employ my services as an engineer. And he happened to have a paper with him. An article on the front page caught my eye. About the coroner who'd handled that bogus autopsy being appointed head of a new forensic team. When I learned that news, my cognitive processes started to devise the plan. What a horrid tale! He robbed me of my future, so I wanted to use the man's own wiles against him for revenge. And have that rotten Scotland Yard eating out of my hand at the same time. Is he a robot? I mean, he sounds like it. He clicks when he moves. So I feel like he's in part robotic, which is why I'm going for a robotic voice. But like, if you watch him move and listen to him, it looks like he's a robot. I'm not sure how much of him is actually a robot. Like, at least one hand is. But the other ones also appear to move the same. The other parts also seem to move the same way, so. I wanted them all to suffer the same humiliation I'd had to suffer. Your actions against those who'd ruined your future were justified as revenge. At least to yourself. Certainly no one has the right to destroy another's prospects, especially for purely selfish gain. And yet, in carrying out your plan, you did exactly that to someone else, didn't you? Professor Harebrain, right? Did I? Professor Harebrain's only crime was passion for his hypothesis. But you had no compunction about sacrificing his future to effect your revenge. You knew that he would be forever branded a failure and a fraud. Perhaps life treated you unfairly 10 years ago, and others' misconduct left your life in tatters. But remember this. Your own actions resulted in the exact same thing for another perfectly innocent young man. Lord Van Zieks, what of Dr. Scythe? An immediate warrant for her arrest has been granted and she's been remanded in custody, my lord. I presume she will face trial in the coming days, along with Mr. Drebber. A most regrettable situation indeed. She's made great contributions to her profession over the years. It really is a hard truth to swallow. However, that is a topic for some future occasion. For now, Professor Harebrain...
Oh, yes?
It seems there was a great deal more to your experiment than you realized. However, I think we can assume now that all the sordid details have been brought to light. This has been a very long and profound trial, but I'm pleased to say you are absolved of all guilt.
This whole experience has taught me a very great but painful lesson. I've been... I mean, me, this dedicated scientist, this devotee of natural philosophy. I've been selfish and self-centered, and above all, a fool.
Professor, I've spent my life thinking of nothing but my research. Misguidedly believing I could do whatever I set my mind to despite my lack of talent. And the worst of it is, in the process I've caused others pain and misery. Others who are far, far greater people than I. No, Professor, that's not true.
What?
Don't tar yourself with the same brush as Drebber. What happened was his doing and his alone. This outcome is his fate, not yours. You're not to blame in any way. Lord Van Zeeks. And the derision with which he referred to you earlier, calling you a fool, talentless even. The man has no idea. To believe in yourself and work your fingers to the bone to realize your dreams. That's laudable, not laughable. No one has the right to deride another for such choices.
Oh! Thank you, Parrock.
So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Yes, my lord? It is this court's expectation that you find the defendant not guilty of the charge of which he stands accused. I presume there are no objections? None from me, my lord.
Certainly not.
This trial has really made me think, but this is the right decision. It's all been proven methodically and rigorously. I have no misgivings whatsoever.
What's that? He's done, is he? It's all over?
I don't know what's become of the yard these days. I don't recognise the place. Very well. In that case, I hereby pronounce the defendant not guilty.
Yay!
Confetti and fireworks. Court is adjourned. It's over. That was some trial. "24th of October, 4:33 p.m. The Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber." Professor! What a splendid outcome, isn't it?
Oh, it is, it is! Congratulations, Professor Harebrain!
Mr. Naruhodo! Mr. Zato!
I am truly beside myself with gratitude. How can I ever thank you enough? I'm just glad it's all been cleared up. That you realize you were just caught up in a bad situation. Right now, you know, if I had that research grant money, I'd give the whole lot to you, every penny. Well, that's very kind, but I'm just a student, so we don't need any financial reward. Your acquittal is more than enough. Are you sure we don't need money? Oh dear. Oh, what can I do? How about this? As a memento. The paper about my hypothesis is inside. Well, just as a memento then. Thank you. I've been wondering, Professor, what are you going to do now? Yeah, right, surely we get paid for lawyering. I mean, how else are we supposed to afford our food and stuff? I mean, Sholmes is low on cash at the moment as well. How are we all supposed to eat? Oh my, yes, what am I going to do? My hypothesis and my great machine, my hypothesis and my great machine lie in ruins. But still, it's been too long since I was last in London, so perhaps I'll enjoy some sightseeing. I must explore the Great Exhibition while I'm here too, and see if new inspiration hits me. Oh yes, that's a wonderful idea, who do we think this is? To say I can't allow that. I kind of feel like it's Van Zieks, but what would Van Zieks be doing in the defendant's antechamber? I can't allow that. It was Van Zieks! I'm good at this. Lord Van Zieks, what are you doing in here? Yeah, maybe the court does pay us. I mean, yeah, given that we're asked to do these things by the courts, I guess the court must pay us, right? Baroque! I'm sorry you had to go through that, Albert. Well, if I'm honest, it was terrifying. You were like a great demon behind your bench there, snarling down on your prey. You're one of the few true friends I have. I couldn't leave it to anybody else to handle the prosecution, or the defense. Wait, is Van Zieks acknowledging us? Van Zieks, are you acknowledging our excellence as defense lawyers? Sorry? Or the defense? Did I just hear that right? I always knew you had my best interests at heart. Don't worry. How about you show me around while I'm here in town? It's been a long time since we left university. We have a lot to catch up on. Listen, Albert. In a few days, your acquittal will be made official. When that happens, you must head straight to Dover. I'll accompany you. Wait. The Reaper's Curse. What if there is someone behind the Reaper's Curse? That's obviously not Van Zieks himself. What if someone is just killing anyone who gets acquitted while Van Zieks is in court? Is he worried about his friend getting killed? Is that it? What? From there, you'll cross the channel and make your way back to Germany. I've already purchased the tickets. And that's true. It could be that he believes his own superstition, maybe. But no! Hold on a minute, Baroque. What about the Great Exhibition? This is the chance of a lifetime for me. I want to look around. No sightseeing, Albert. Give up on the idea. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to see any warmth in those eyes, Baroque. Lord Van Zeeks. What's all this about? A necessary precaution. Yes, I think I understand. You do? Well, Iris told me that when you met Lord Van Zeeks at his office some days ago, he asked how Mr. Natsume was doing. Yes, that's right. I remember being surprised at the time, and thinking it was nice of him to ask. The point is, Mr. Natsume is still alive and well. Because he immediately left the country. Even though it's been more than 6 months now since he stood trial with the Reaper as the prosecutor. Ah, you mean... the Reaper's influence doesn't stretch overseas? Those in the Reaper's sights meet their ends days or sometimes months after their acquittal. And that's been the pattern up to now. But of course, we know that both Mr. Natsume and Gina were completely innocent. True. And perhaps that governs the Reaper's actions. The truly innocent are spared. But I don't want to take any chances with a close personal friend. But Baroque! Like the moustache Nipponese, this man should leave the country without delay. That's why I'm packing him off to Germany at once. Right. Does your friend-shaped package get any say in it? Friend-shaped package. Goodness! Was this your intention all along then, Lord Van Zeeks? In court, where people think of him as the Reaper, this man seems absolutely merciless. And yet... sometimes I feel as though I don't understand him at all. It's time to go, Albert. Back to the prison for the time being. Yes, all right. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo. Thank you so much for everything! Not at all, Professor. It was a pleasure getting to know you. Best wishes, Professor Hairbrain. Well, once the dust is settled, you must come and visit me in Germany. Sure. I'll come visit you in Germany, Professor Hairbrain. Anyway, goodbye for now! Now, my Nipponese friend. Hey Van Zeeks, are we actually friends now? Or are you still using friend in a not actually friend sense? Oh, yes? I thought you'd gone too. We have matters to discuss. Can you spare me some time? You want to talk with me? Is it about your apprentice that we're pretty sure we know who he is? I'll be waiting in the courtroom in 10 minutes.
Well, that was strange. For some reason, I didn't get that sense of impending doom as he walked away this time. The Enigma, Barak von Zeeks. What does he want to discuss, I wonder? The answer awaits in the courtroom, I suppose. Here goes, then. "24th of October, 4:58 p.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. See, the professor's still here. So, are you satisfied? You saved a guileless scientist from a great injustice. Yes, I think so. I'm relieved at least that the man's innocence could be proven. Anyway, I imagine you've been wondering where my animosity towards you Nipponese comes from. Are we getting a backstory of Van Zeeks' racism? I think that really does mean he's warming up to us. Well, at first I thought you just didn't like me. I imagined you saw me as a pretentious child from an important land who had no business being here. But now I think differently. You clearly know our ways, so I would guess that some specific incident led to your thorough dislike of my race. Will you tell me what happened, please? Yeah, those eyes before he slapped his face. I mean, this guy's very intimidating. The Professor. I thought I'd never hear that name in this courtroom again, to be honest. He took your brother's life. Clint. My brother was Clint Van Zeeks. Wait, is the Professor Japanese? Does Van Zeeks know this? 16 years ago, when I was still just in my teens. He was already the Director of Prosecutions and a key member of the Judiciary. I looked up to him. He was everything I aspired to be. He was involved in the establishment of justice systems in foreign countries as well. There were exchange programs between Britain and other nations then too, to share knowledge and ideas. As part of one of those programs, 3 judicial students came to Britain from your homeland, the Empire of Japan. Oh! If it was 16 years ago, then one of them could have been my father. Of course, I remember Dr. Mikotoba well. I had no idea. I was a minor at the time, training at the prosecutor's office. One day, Clint introduced me to the free... Try that one again. One day, Clint introduced me to the 3 visiting Nipponese. So, you've actually met my father? He and his colleagues were polite and amicable. They were adept at their work and exacting in their standards. It was my first encounter with the Nipponese spirit, and it made a very great impression upon me. But 6 years later, that's when it happened. The investigation was going nowhere,
There were no suspects even, just an ever-growing list of victims. And in the end, my brother became one of them. The last, in fact, before the case was finally resolved. I'm so sorry, Lord Van Zieks, truly. Clint was always ready to put his life on the line for justice anyway. So he wouldn't have wanted it any other way. He lost his life to the killer, but it was his victory in the end. For me personally, though, it was a great loss. I found myself in a very dark place indeed. When I finally found out the killer's identity, the reason why no one had been able to catch the man sooner ceased to be such a mystery. He'd been hiding in plain sight all the time. In plain sight? Are you aware of political events 10 years ago? It was a period of extremely sensitive diplomacy between the British and Japanese empires. A new treaty was being forged, I think. Correct. The Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation was being concluded. The leaders of both countries were deep in extensive political discussions. Which is why this particular killer's appearance in court was conducted as a closed trial. Because it was just as important politically as the trial with which we started Great Ace Attorney, right? If the British public had known the identity of the killer, not only would the treaty have been in jeopardy, but our two nations could very well have ended up at war. What? A war between Britain and Japan? But that would mean... Oh my! You mean to say the professor was...
When the trial reached its conclusion earlier, I thought to myself, yes, it's time.
Voice acting.
Time for you to come face to face with this hideous monster.
Man, my voice acting for Van Zieks wasn't deep enough.
I borrowed the key for the mask from the proprietress of the Waxwork Museum.
Man, I like keys like that. It's just giant, chunky key. I love it.
So see for yourselves now. Confirm it with your own eyes. The truth that's been hidden this past decade.
Is it going to be someone we know? It's not Professor Mikotoba, right? Surely.
That's the professor?
Oh, he's got a little ponytail. You want Van Zieks to read The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe? Yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it?
Yes, that's him.
Until now, the thought never even crossed my mind. That the mass murderer, whose crimes shook Britain as never before, was Japanese.
Okay, I don't think we recognize that guy. That's fine. I mean, we were told that he got shot, right? When he rose from the grave.
Wait a minute. That face.
Oh, wait, someone recognizes it.
I feel as though I've seen it somewhere. It's strangely familiar.
Well, I mean, if it was one of the 3 students
of which your father was one of them, then I guess maybe you would have seen that face before, Susato-san. Kazuma, are you okay?
Father.
It's Kazuma's dad! Dun 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 dun! Also, Kazuma, you look super cool in that with the mask. Even without the cape.
What? Father? Kazuma!
We were right that it was Kazuma! I can't believe Kazuma's alive!
My best friend, Kazuma Asogi. After a whole year, finally his memories returned.
Can't believe the thing behind us that returning memories is seeing that his father is a mass
He stood there
murderer.
before me.
Ryunosuke.
Hello again. My friend.
Kazuma-sama!
Judicial Assistant Mikotoba. It's been a very long road. Thank you. Thank you for guiding my friend here when I could not.
It was an honor.
I knew you wouldn't die that easily.
No.
Kazuma.
I owe you thanks, too. For taking good care of that in my absence.
Oh,
Oh yeah, his sword.
Karuma. The great blade of the Asogi clan. Passed down through the generations. When we left Japan, this sword was at my friend's side. A Japanese man's katana is his soul, and he couldn't be parted from it. But then, when the incident happened, it was Susato-san's wish that I inherit the sword. And I've kept it with me ever since, along with my memories of the friendship we shared. With this by my side, I always felt that you were watching over me somehow.
I've made it. At last. Father.
Are you saying... Surely not. You mean, you knew all this time?
He knew?
I'm looking at it. But... I still can't believe it. This mass murderer is Kazuma's father.
Kazuma's now got a sword on each hip. What are you gonna do to that waxwork, Kazuma? Madame Two Spells isn't gonna be very happy with him.
Kazuma-sama.
Ryunosuke, we have much to talk about, but now is not the time. I'll be seeing you.
I mean, at least it's a clean cut. She can probably stick it back together, Henry.
That's all Kazuma said. Before he turned and left us there, in the courtroom.
But still, how did Kazuma survive, anyway? So he is the living afterimage of the man who took my brother's life, is he? Yes, Kazuma Asogi. My best friend. 3 months ago, when Lord Strongheart introduced us, I had an inkling there was something there, some connection. But why did Lord Strongheart do that? Why did he make Kazuma Lord Van Zieks' apprentice? And when he was suffering amnesia, too. The man was apprehended, even executed. But his legacy just won't die. That's the sad truth. Anyway, that's all I had to say. I thank you for meeting with me as I asked. Flourishing bow and a goodbye. 10 years ago, my grandmother took me to the railway station. We were there to meet my father from the train. For me, it was the first time I'd ever seen him. Well, Suzato-san, all this is tied up with painful memories for her, too. She's never talked about this with me before, though. It took time to adjust to having father around, but just when I was starting to get used to it, he called me into his study one day. He told me that a great friend of his had passed away in London, and that the friend had left behind a son. A boy, 7 years my senior. Father told me that the boy had made a promise to his late father, so he was studying to become a defense lawyer. I wanted to help, so I studied to become a qualified judicial assistant. As I'm sure you've worked out, that young man's name was Kazuma Asogi. So you see, that's how he and I met.
For a brief moment, my great friend had returned, only to disappear again all too soon. But in that fleeting encounter, something stirred. Something that had been dormant for a long time. As if great wheels had been set in motion. I could almost hear them creaking into life.
Ooh.
In some ways, it was the end of a chapter, but in many, it was the start of a new one.
It is indeed the end of a chapter. Man, that ending was something, right? That ending was something. And, well, it is a little early for me to end the stream. My voice is suffering a little bit. So I am gonna call it here instead of starting the next episode. So thank you for being here. I mean, how am I doing? Said my voice is suffering a little bit. I think I messed. I think I overstressed it with the karaoke a little bit, and also I kind of caught the sun a little bit yesterday. I'm a little bit sunburnt because I forgot to apply sun cream. Remember sun cream if you go outside, because it's hot out there. Even if it looks cloudy, still sunny. Yes, I think I'm gonna go and rest a bit. And hey Nick, could you put a link to Tama's stream, because Tama's got a big important stream at the moment, right? Do you mind dropping a link to Tama's Twitch? Because I'm gonna go over there and watch after this. So I recommend other people do as well. So thank you very much for coming and joining me for the end of this part of Great Ace Attorney. I'm looking forward to the next part. And if you're new and you've enjoyed your time, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can also follow me on Twitter, which is where I post the stream schedule for the week. This was the last scheduled stream for the week, so there'll be a new schedule up either later today or tomorrow. The next stream will be 7 PM on Monday, tomorrow, and we're going to be going back to Birashana. It's been a little while since I finished to schedule that, so hope to see you then or another time. Once again, thanks for coming, and this is Kalla signing out. See ya, bye bye.